I've had chicken legs for years, then 3 TRX moves changed that. If you've been doing all the exercises and your legs still aren't growing, it's not the effort that's the problem. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact 3 TRX exercises that built my legs, why they worked when others didn't, and exactly how to do them for real growth. Let's start with the quads, because on paper, mine should have already been big. For years, my go-to quad exercises were narrow squats and pistol squats. My quads looked defined when I was lean, the separation was there, and my athletic performance was good, but I could never get them bigger and thicker overall. And when I dug into the science, I figured out why. Narrow squats have a depth limit, so the quad muscles never get into a deep stretch where the real muscle growth happens. And pistol squats are an impressive movement, but the deeper you get, the more they become about balance, which brings in your hamstrings and glutes to compensate, so the load gets shared rather than maxing out the quads through isolation. So I swapped them for 2 exercises that load the quads exactly where it grows, and I do them back to back as a superset. The first one is the reverse lunge, but on a step, which is key. Raising your front foot gives you more range through the hip and knee, so the quad gets loaded in a deeper stretch position, exactly where the growth is. And here's how I do every rep for maximum effectiveness. Slowly lower down over 4 seconds, then squeeze the quads hard and drive up powerfully through the front heel. Then squeeze the quads extra hard at the top, holding it for 2 seconds. That's what keeps the tension on the muscle instead of just going through the motion. That's one of the core skills from my free suspension training handbook below. Then I go straight into this next exercise to finish the quads off and get a bonus activation on the hamstrings. With your back foot elevated, you can get into a much deeper position, which gives an even bigger loaded stretch right where the growth happens. This one's known as a Bulgarian split squat or front lunge variation. Now here's that bonus activation I mentioned. Your hamstrings have to work hard to control the descent and help stabilize the knee and hip. And if you pause down there, they're held under tension in a lengthened position. So while the quads are the main target, the hamstrings are getting a genuine growth stimulus too. Then drive up through the heel and squeeze the quads really hard at the top. The quads are already pre-exhausted going into the second exercise. That's where the real burn kicks in. But if you're just starting out, I'd keep it to only one of these exercises per workout first. Build your technique and strength up before pairing them or using a weighted vest. Start with 8 to 10 reps on the first. Then, if you superset straight into the second, 4 to 8 reps is plenty. Your legs will already be on fire. A lot of getting this right comes down to core skills like muscular endurance and stability. I've put the 7 that matter most in my free suspension training handbook below. Now onto hamstrings. Those split squats hit them harder than you think. I'll prove that to you in a minute. But it isn't enough on its own. To actually grow them, you need one move of real isolated hamstring work. And I used to get this completely wrong. You see, I had 3 exercises doing my hamstring work. Wide squats with a hamstring focused squeeze, straight leg hip hinges with a deep pause stretch, and curls. Overall, they built great mobility and performance, but that size never came. Here's the problem with spreading volume across 3 moves like that. The wide squats spread the tension across my glutes and quads too, as a shared load, no matter how much I tried to limit it with technique and the squeeze. And the straight leg hinge is a hip extension pattern, which means the glutes and spinal erectors take a lot of the work. So I cut those 2 out and I put all of that volume into the one move that hits the hamstrings most directly, the curl. And here's why it's the most direct hamstring exercise you can do for growth. It's the only move that directly trains their main job, bending the knee, but under continuous tension. So the load is isolated directly onto the hamstring muscle. Here's how I do them for maximum effectiveness. With your hips raised, squeeze your hamstrings super hard to slowly pull your heels towards your glutes. Then pause at the top for 2 seconds and squeeze them even harder. Now this is the bit most people get wrong. Go even slower on the way back down, but stop just before your legs straighten. Don't lock out and rest because you'll lose all the tension on the hamstring muscle. Continuous tension is the #1 driver of muscle growth. Now here's the crazy part. If I do these curls fresh, I can hit about 12 reps. But if I do them after the Bulgarian split squat, I can only manage 6, which proves the hamstrings are getting real work from the split squats. Then the curls finish them off. Once you've got these 3 locked in and you want to push hamstring development even further down the line, that's when you can add the hinge back in as a 4th. Curls and hinges complement each other. The curl hits knee flexion, the hinge hits hip extension. So together they cover the hamstring's full job. But that's an upgrade for later. Right now, these 3 exercises are what grow them. And everything I just showed you, the slow tempo, the constant tension, the squeeze at the top, those aren't just cues, they're skills skills, and they're all in my free handbook below. So there's the 3 moves that finally built my legs. But legs are only one piece of a body that looks and performs great. The thing that actually makes you look athletic, with or without a shirt on, is that V-shaped taper on your back. So watch this video next and I'll show you the only 2 suspension trainer moves you need for a wide back, and exactly why your current exercises aren't building it.